Well, when I first left school at 15, and the first job I managed to get was in a shirt factory, Elliot Street in Rochdale. After that I went to a glove factory, Andy Gloves, that was in Rochdale on John Street. And then after that, I wasn't earning too much money, and my mum said, you know, can you not get a job earning a little bit more? And I said, well, yeah, I'll go back into the mill type work, because in a factory, you call it a mill really, don't you? Shirt making. And so I got my first job then, you know, but I was still only 15.
I installed machinery. The first job I did abroad at 19 years old, because prior to that they wouldn't insure us.
Right.
And I went to southern Yugoslavia and installed a full mill, or I was part of the 5-man team. I started serving my time in 1951, 2nd of January 1951, as apprentice.
Right.
Tweedales and Smalley's employed, it was a big employer in Rochdale, and they did a lot of good apprenticeships.
Oh yeah.
You know, they're not just like fitters, there was people that worked in foundries.
Yeah, moulders, they had a good moulding all. One of the last moulding setups that once they'd produced a piece of machinery, a frame of the machine, they left it out in an open field sort of thing to weather, so that it'd get all its little twists and turns out, you know, and then they'd put it on the machines and start planing it, milling it, whatever.
Our mill was a massive mill, as people would know in Rochdale. It's still there. There's another mill across the road from it, Castle Mill. There were 2 or 3 mills outside of it. One set on fire. It actually shut the road then because the road, I can't remember the mill itself. But our mill, it was a fantastic place to work. It was one of the biggest. It held about 700, maybe 1,000 people, workers.
I was 15 in December, and I left school in December and started work right away.
Blimey.
Yeah. So, and then after those 2 initial jobs, I did get work in a mill.
Well, it was 210, 6-2, and you had your day shift.
Right.
Which was like 8-9, 8-5 or whatever. And then you got the night shift.
I think it was the Mars Mill at Castleton. That was my first mill job.
Right.
Yeah. And I was in the ring room, doffing.
I was in the warehouse, mate. We used to go from warehouse to the other side, through weaving shed. And it was massive inside, absolutely massive.
You worked as a team. There was usually, sometimes there was 6 in a team, 3 on each side, sometimes 5, so there'd be 2 on each side, and then 1 would work at the end. Someone on that side come round and do some, you know. It varied, but it was good because you all worked together. You just all mucked in, as it was, you know. None of this, well, I've done my job now, you know, you just helped each other. It was good. Mill days was good.
I can remember some Americans coming in, 2 brothers from California. Now, if anybody worked in our mill, they wouldn't know this. They came in the morning. By dinner time, they bought our mill. I was working in the warehouse then, and they just walked past, and we all said, "Who's that?" And our boss, you know, like, turned and he says, "I think they're coming to buy it." Oh, do you know, like, and we thought, well, at least it's saved. But they actually shut the place down.
Right.
So they bought it, shut it down, but they sort of started selling the machinery off to India and everything, is what we got told. And then it shut down in 1991, I think, 1992. And then it's warehouse now.
I can't remember how long, but I worked there for quite, not months, years, a few years. Because I wasn't so old when I went there, you know, so... And then you get married, don't you? And when my first child came along, you give up work for a short time. It was a short time. I think at that time it was 11 weeks. they gave you 11 weeks or something like that, you know, to have your baby and get yourself sorted out. And I've had 4 children, and I've worked in mills all the time, different mills, but when I was having my children. And with my other children, I only had 2 weeks off work to have the child and to get back to work, because it was getting harder financially.
Yeah.
The tattlers would have a knack of, instead of having to stop the room so they could thread a belt on, it's like you always find a quicker way because it's money.
Yeah.
Right? And they used to get the belt all pieced up. If a belt snapped, they'd have to make a new belt and new fittings, ends. And what they'd do, they'd have it on the bottom, and at some stage they'd flick it onto the running one, and it'd start up fast. But those belt fittings sometimes got, the hooks came sideways after a lot of wear. And I know of one personally that in his overalls, and he did this, put it on, and the actual belt caught there and took him up the top and squashed him through and put his bits down on floor. Yes.
Eventually went to Dunlop.
Right.
And in Dunlop, I didn't do in the ring room. I went in, first of all, can tenting, as it was called. That's where it coils into big cans.
Yeah.
And then you drag it. When it's full, press it down and make sure some more can go in. When it's absolutely full, you take that can out, break the and put another can where that can was. Sometimes you'd put string on and you'd drag them along the factory floor. But you still found time for a laugh. You know, you did. Oh, I loved it. I loved my work. Hard, but I loved it.
Jack's family, the whole side of the family, Richard Holt was a shuttle maker. And then his sons were all shuttle makers.
Yeah.
And Richard came from Macclesfield, the silk industry.
Yeah.
Right.
But shuttle making, it's all connected to the textile industry.
Yeah.
They used to say shuttle maker joiner. I mean, they could turn their hand to most things. But you know when you say he was a joiner, they didn't really have connections with the mill. A lot of mills employed joiners.
Oh God, yeah.
You know, inside they used to do things, and they used to do the shuttles, didn't they? You've got about 4 shuttle makers, haven't you? All son of a son of a son. You know, it went all the way down.
You pass your skill on.
The looms were a bit Victorian, if you know what I mean. They were very old, like pre-war, you know, like, and they were just like, they kept on going, you know, like, and they had a good, it was like a family, well, it was a family business, it was like generation. So obviously it were going in the 1800s.
Yeah. And they kept it going.
And they just kept it going.
Right at the beginning, we're talking something like about £4 something or other.
For a week?
For a week.
Yeah.
And that was better than the wage I was earning at the shirt factory. At the shirt factory, I remember exactly what I earned. £1, 17 shillings and 9 pence. Usually it was something like 40 hours, you know, because you started at, I think we started at 7:30.
Right.
If memory serves me right, and we finished about 5. So, and we had a lunch break. You know, I used to give my mum all my wage, and she used to give me 50. Well, I'm calling it 50 pence, 10 shillings.
10 shillings, yeah.
So, and I used to do everything with that 10 shillings. Everything.
90% of the mills in Rochdale is founders of John Bright and his son.
Right.
You know, they've got a statue of John Bright. They've got a statue of his son somewhere.
Right.
But not far from here, there's a graveyard for John Bright, all his family. But if you have a look on the actual plaque itself and some of the grave, it tells you that they owned the mills around Rochdale. Every one of the family had a mill in Rochdale, and they were all like married into John Bright's family. When you think about it, all his family owns a mill.
Yeah.
So like it's not. I don't own a shop. I own a mill. So John Bright founded all the mills, but he gave one to each one of his family.
Right.
So he kept it in the family. No matter what happened, if one crashed, the family
Yeah.
still got one.
I mean, you
about-
can't live in Rochdale without in some way being influenced by the textile industry,
No, you
even
can't.
if you're not in it yourself. Your,
Well,
your
it's-
family were.
I don't know what year Dorothy Perkins opened in Rochdale, but I do remember this. And when everybody were going, a new shop opening in Rochdale, you wish they would now. We all went looking at this Dorothy Perkins shop, and I bought myself this twin set, you know, cardigan and a jumper, blue. I can see me in it now.
Right.
And I was the bee's knees, you
Yeah.
know, in this new, what I bought myself. But once washed,
The Christmas footing, food-wise, always used to be you sent out for it to the local bakery or whatever food
Yeah,
place, and you finished up with a little box, a little cardboard box with a pork pie or a meat
Right.
pie,
Couple
curled
of
up sandwiches, couple
Trifle.
of yeah, a bit of trifle,
And a cake.
yeah, and a cake, and that was your Christmas do, and you made your brews like and
Lovely.
and set up some tables around for everybody.
Yeah.
And the Asians come marching in with like silver platter, you know,
Right.
plates, and plopped them down there for their half of the footing, shall we call it. And there's tandoori chicken legs and breasts and things, samosas and tomatoes cut and
Yeah.
lettuce on there.
well, a day trip was my mum and my holiday. This is before I was ever married or anything. And if we managed a day at Blackpool, we were doing all right. Always on Ellen Smith's, not Helen, Ellen Smith coaches,
Yeah.
which has recently come back to Rochdale.
Has it?
again. Yeah. And sometimes it would be Yellow Way. Happy days, yeah. You knew just where you were up to with it. And it was so, well, looking back it was cheap, but it was probably, we couldn't really afford it, but, you know, I don't know, it was something like 2 shillings and something
Yeah. Yeah.
to go all the way to Blackpool and that.
Yeah.